It's 3 a.m., June 22nd, 2023, and the OceanGate submersible is still missing. The passengers and crew have run out of time, and specifically, they've run out of air. The vessel holds up to 96 hours of breathable air, and as of 3:30 a.m., June 22nd, 2023, they have run out of air. The Titan has joined the Titanic in its doom, the Titanic claiming another 5 victims to the over 1,500 who went down with the ocean liner in April of 1912. That is, if the Titan hadn't experienced a catastrophic loss of cabin pressure and imploded from the immense pressures of 13,000 feet below the ocean surface, not unlike those who went dragged to the bottom of the sea with the stern of the Titanic, who experienced significant implosions in the inner decks and compartments as the Titanic was pulled below the surface too fast for air to escape, causing catastrophic and instant implosions, killing all those still aboard the ocean liner. Since the recording of this video, the Titan has been found, and it has been shown to have experienced a catastrophic loss of pressure and implosion. My guess is that it happened sometime around an hour and a half into their 4-hour journey down at around 1,300 meters below the surface. I'm getting ahead of myself. First, let's talk about the submersible. Had the OceanGate submersible experienced this, it probably happened at the same moment communications were lost, and all aboard have been lost for around 96 hours. But I'm getting ahead of myself again. Most of you know me as Sasha, or as Hakan Alexander. What some of you may not know is that while my career and inspiration as an artist, maybe as a musician, composer, actor, performer, I grew up on large yachts due to my family owning and operating a yacht rental and charter business. I love exploration and the ocean. I've backpacked and hiked in the Adirondack Mountains, sailed sailboats, toured in the US and Europe, and I even have my own small ship, a 60-foot ocean crossing vessel called Motor Yacht Mermaider, and I use it to travel anywhere. She's my main home, besides my music studio apartment. But back to OceanGate. As of 3:30 a.m., June 22nd, 2023, time is up for the OceanGate Titan and the passengers inside of it. Let's talk quickly about those aboard the vessel. Stockton Rush, the founder and CEO of OceanGate. Stockton, a descendant of 2 signees of the Declaration of Independence, and who has a degree in aerospace engineering from Princeton, was piloting the Titan. Stockton's wife also happens to be a great-granddaughter of one of those lost on the Titanic over 111 years ago. Hamish Harding, British billionaire businessman and explorer, has traveled to the seafloor before, going, as they say, Challenger deep, winning multiple Guinness World Records for his explorations. Hamish is also the owner of Action Aviation. Paul-Henri Nargeolet, a French maritime expert and director of the underwater research for RMS Titanic Incorporated. Nargeolet has been to the wreck site of the RMS Titanic 35 times and was the scientist aboard the Titan on this doomed voyage. Shahzada Dawood, 48, is described by the New York Times as a scion of one of Pakistan's wealthiest families. Sulman Dawood, 19, is Shahzada's son and accompanied his father on the $250,000 per person per ticket mission to the Titanic. According to a CBS reporter who was on the Titan in 2022, one of only 3 scenarios is possible. The Titan is stuck on debris or the Titanic itself, preventing it from returning to the surface. 2. The resurfacing systems, of which there are many, over 7 redundant surfacing procedures, were engaged, and the Titan is on the surface somewhere. Scenario 3 is that when the comms were lost between the Titan submersible and the surface vessel, it was because a simultaneous implosion had taken place, instantly killing all on board. Any good mariner will tell you it is essential to have these redundant safety measures, because whether you're on the surface or on the ocean floor, the systems on board are all you have for returning to the surface or returning home. These redundant systems are in place as a safety measure in order to, in this case, surface, regardless of whether there are any system failures that take place. The redundant systems are on the Titan to surface the vessel. These include thrusters, a balloon parachute, and the dropping of ballast, in other words, weight. In this case, the Titan utilizing unconventional forms of ballast, such as steel construction piping and sandbags. One such safety measure is what's called a dead man's switch. This is a last resort that will drop the remaining ballast weight on its own in the event that all passengers on the vessel are unconscious or incapacitated, sending the Titan to the surface. Scenario 3, catastrophic failure and implosion, is the worst case scenario. However, and depending on how you see it, Scenario 1 is not much better. If the Titan has become stuck, rendering all of its floor-to-surface systems useless, along with the loss of comms or loss of power, this will turn the Titan into a tomb. Without the redundant surface-to-air systems, there is virtually no feasible way to bring the Titan back to the surface. Even if they were located on the seafloor, there is nothing that exists that can bring it to the surface. There are only 5 submersibles on Earth capable of reaching the seafloor and the Titanic wreck, Titan being one of them, and the others currently not ready to travel to Newfoundland and then 900 miles out into the sea and then 13,000 feet down to the seafloor. Even if they could locate the Titan and submerge all the way down to them, these vessels are not equipped with anything that could assist the Titan. These vessels are not submarines. They are submersibles, which makes them more akin to an elevator. They are only capable of going up and down, relying on the sonar of the surface vessel to descend to their desired location, and are equipped with small thrusters that allow for some small navigation on the seafloor. They are not equipped with any towing equipment. So even if another submersible could locate and even reach the Titan, there's nothing they can do to save them. Also, due to the Titan's experimental design, there is no pressurized airlock system with which they could attach to another submersible and transfer passengers from the Titan to another rescue vessel. Passengers in the Titan are unable to exit the sub, as the outer titanium domes are bolted on from the outside. So if they are unable to surface on their own, there is no way to raise them. OceanGate is known in the industry for its DIY methods and experimental designs. Inside the Titan there is only a few rudimentary instruments. Aside from the redundant surfacing methods, inside there is only one button on the inner wall, and a monitor for the outside cameras. The small thrusters are operated with an original Xbox controller. Traditional navigational equipment and instruments, like sonar, radar, and other maritime instruments, were foregone in the design to make room for more passengers in order to be the first and only submersible that can hold 5 passengers, 2 more than the other 4 subs in the world that can reach these depths. Stockton is heard on the Unsung Science podcast saying, quote, "There is a point when safety is just a waste," end quote. And, quote, "I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules."
There's a limit. At some point, safety just is pure waste. I mean, if you just want to be safe, don't get out of bed, don't get in your car, don't do anything. At some point, you're going to take some risk, and it really is a risk-reward question. I said, I think I can do this just as safely by breaking the rules.
The Marine Technology Society disagreed, saying in a letter sent to Rush on March 27, 2018, "Dear Stockton, this letter is sent on behalf of our industry members who have collectively expressed unanimous concern regarding the development of Titan and the planned Titanic expedition. Our apprehension is that the current experimental approach adopted by OceanGate could result in negative outcomes, from minor to catastrophic, that would have serious consequences for everyone in the industry. The MUV industry has earned itself an enviable safety track record over the last 40 years. This is partly due to the diligent engineering discipline and professional approach exercised by members of the industry, but also due to the collective observation of and adherence to a variety of safety standards. This reputation is solid because it was hard-won over many years of diligent application and has resulted in a safe and successful record of operation. Our members are all aware of how important and precious this standing is and deeply concerned that a single negative event could undo this. Your marketing material advertises that the Titan design will meet or exceed the DNV-GL safety standards, yet it does not appear that OceanGate has the intention of following DNV-GL class rules. Your representation is, at minimum, misleading to the public and breaches an industry-wide professional code of conduct we all endeavor to uphold. We recommend that at a minimum you institute a prototype testing program that is reviewed and witnessed by DNV-GL. While this may demand additional time and expense, it is our unanimous view that this validation process by a third party is a critical component in the safeguards that protect all submersible occupants. Rush's failure or refusal to adhere to any of these safety guidelines resulted in his sub not being approved by any regulatory body.
An experimental submersible vessel that has not been approved or certified by any regulatory body and could result in physical injury, disability, emotional trauma, or death. Where do I sign?
His motivation for this can only be speculated on, be it greed or simple ignorance. It has now cost the lives of 5 people. A former employee of OceanGate, David Lockridge, voiced his own concerns about the Titan. Lockridge believed OceanGate should employ more rigorous safety tests and raised concerns about the Titan's viewport. Lockridge was sued by OceanGate, citing that Lockridge was not employed as an engineer, and Lockridge filed a countersuit. In the filing, it is stated that Titan's viewport is only certified to work in depths of 1,300 meters, while the Titanic wreck is located at a depth of 3,800 meters. Lockridge also stated in the filing that the paying passengers would not be aware and would not be informed of this experimental design, a sentiment shared by the Marine Technology Society in their letter to Stockton, stressing he adhere to the recommended safety guidelines. During the recording of the Unsung Science podcast, the intended descent to Titanic was cut short after just descending 37 feet due to a minor malfunction. This brings us back to scenario 3, that the loss of communications and subsequent failure to appear on the surface on schedule was due to a catastrophic failure and rapid pressurization, likely beginning at the viewport, resulting in an implosion and instantaneous deaths of all those on board. So given the 3 possibilities, only one can result in rescue. That being scenario 2, that they lost power, but the redundant safety measures kicked in and surfaced the vessel. This scenario can still be deadly, however, as they will still run out of air after 96 hours, and as of 3:30 a.m. on June 22nd, 2023, they have run out of air. If scenario 1 or 3 have occurred, that being that they are stuck on the seafloor, or they've experienced an implosion, rescue is impossible, making the expedition a doomed one. The only difference being if the passengers died instantaneously, or if they sat on the seafloor for 96 hours, trapped under 13,000 feet of water, in a tube the size of a minivan, trying to stay warm, because without power, the coldness has crept in. They had no room to stand or move. The sounds of the hull creaking due to the tremendous pressures, food and water scarce. Perhaps Stockton tapped on the hull with a hammer, hoping it will be picked up by the deep water microphones and sonar of the rescue vessels, though Stockton must have known that even if they were found, rescue is not an option. If scenario 1 indeed happened, the only hope is that the dead man's switch can release the remaining ballast and release them from the seafloor. Everyone aboard knew the risks of adventuring deep below the surface, however, it is unlikely they knew how big of a risk they were actually taking. As the MTS and David Lockridge stated, passengers would be unaware of the experimental design and are misled by Stockton and OceanGate advertisements. If Stockton felt like he was in hell, he certainly has hell to look forward to, as his ambition, greed, and desire for more funding from wealthy passengers at $250,000 a ticket led him to mislead his customers, putting them in extreme danger and dooming them all to join the passengers of the Titanic in their watery grave, entombed forever in the Titan submersible. While one could say the Titanic has claimed yet 5 more lives 111 years after her sinking, it is my belief that the responsibility for the doom of Hamish, Shahzadah, Sulman, Paul Harry, and Stockton himself lay at the feet of Stockton Rush, for his ambition and greed is what got them there, to remain forever with the RMS Titanic. Today, June 22nd, 3:30 a.m., time is up.
Was a visionary, and he did not take these people down there, carelessly or recklessly. He was very careful and very methodical and tried to mitigate the risk as best he could.